The Nebulans were a civilization that had lived in peace and harmony for thousands of years in a distant corner of the universe. For them, war was a concept lost in the depths of history. On their planet, Nebula, technology and science had advanced, but weapons and armies had long been forgotten. This peaceful existence became the Nebulans' greatest weakness. Ruthless invaders from a far-flung corner of the galaxy saw this vulnerability and launched an attack. These invaders were from a corrupted civilization that had already consumed their own world. With no moral boundaries, they conquered other planets and plundered their resources. To them, the Nebulans' world was a treasure. The Nebulans' advanced technology made their planet a prize worth seizing. The Nebulans, however, had neither the military force nor the war experience to resist these invaders. When the first strike hit, the Nebulan city was thrown into chaos. Gigantic spacecraft appeared in the sky, and laser fire ravaged the city. The invaders, having captured the Nebulans' advanced technology, weaponized it against them. The Nebulans were now being struck down by their own creations. The Nebulan Council was powerless, watching helplessly as their civilization crumbled before their eyes. In this moment of desperation, the Nebulan leaders sent out a call for help to the closest civilization in the galaxy, the humans. Humans were a respected species in galactic communities, though they were not as technologically advanced as the Nebulans. However, humans had a strong history of warfare, strategy, and resilience in battle. When the Nebulans' plea for help reached Earth, humans took action. A team of military leaders and scientists was assembled to save the Nebulans. Leading this team was a seasoned war strategist named Caleb and a renowned scientist known for her intellect, Mira. They knew they would have to use Nebulan technology without fully understanding it, but they also believed in humanity's ability to adapt and outthink any challenge. The humans embarked on a long and perilous journey to reach the Nebulan world. When they arrived, the sight that met them was heartbreaking. The invaders had turned the once beautiful planet into a nightmare, with the sky covered in dark clouds. The humans immediately sprang into action. Under Caleb's leadership, a small team of soldiers infiltrated a hidden underground bunker outside the Nebulan cities. In this bunker, the humans met the last remaining Nebulan scientists. During discussions with Shaun, the Nebulan leader, they learned how the invaders had weaponized Nebulan technology. The humans realized that they needed time to fully understand this technology, but time was a luxury they did not have. The invaders were merciless and fast. Humans were known for their tactical prowess. Caleb devised a plan to delay the invaders until they could harness the Nebulan technology. Human soldiers employed guerrilla tactics, ambushing small groups of invaders and slowing their advance. On Nebula, energy cannons, laser shields, and cloaking armor gave human soldiers a significant advantage, but mastering this alien technology required time. Meanwhile, Mira worked alongside the Nebulan scientists to reverse-engineer the invaders' captured technology. Together, they developed a device capable of generating an energy wave powerful enough to disable the invaders' main ship. This device could be the key to turning the tide of the war. However, for it to work, they would have to infiltrate the heart of the invaders' base. The invader ships moved across the sky like a massive dark wave, closing in to completely conquer the world of the Nebulus. The Nebula city was engulfed in flames, and the sky was filled with bright laser beams and explosions. The invaders were gathering all their strength for the final blow. But this time, they were not just facing defenseless Nebulus. They were up against human soldiers with strategic brilliance. Caleb watched the battlefield intently. A small resistance force, composed of both human and Nebula soldiers, fought against the enemy's massive army. Meanwhile, Mira, alongside Nebula scientists, had prepared the energy wave device, planning to disable the invaders' main ship. But could this plan succeed amid the chaos of the intense battle? "Are you ready?" Caleb asked, looking at his soldiers, his eyes gleaming with determination. Under his command, the soldiers were disciplined and prepared like machines. Years of war experience were showing at this crucial moment. Everyone had taken their positions, waiting for the enemy to arrive. When the invader ships, massive and imposing, pierced through the atmosphere with explosive force, the ground trembled. As the landing ramps beneath the ships opened, metallic armored war machines and human-sized, savage-looking soldiers poured out. The invaders' armor was protected by an almost invisible energy shield that deflected every bullet or laser beam fired at them. The human soldiers, now empowered with Nebula technology, initiated the first attack. Under Caleb's command, they split into two groups to flank the enemy. Snipers, hidden among the trees, aimed their laser rifles at critical points to scatter the invaders' main forces. They targeted tightly clustered enemies, trying to take out as many as possible at once. They couldn't afford to let the enemy retreat. This is their weak moment. Attack! Caleb shouted. The human soldiers, armed with Nebula-developed energy spears, began to overpower the invaders. But the enemy's counterattack was fiercer than expected. Massive war machines strode toward the human soldiers, spraying bullets from their heavy machine guns in all directions. Explosions erupted, and dirt flew into the air, forcing some soldiers to retreat. Meanwhile, Mira and a small Nebula team were using underground tunnels to sneak toward the enemy's main ship. Their plan was to plant the energy wave device at the ship's core, disabling all the invaders' electronics. But waiting for them at the end of the tunnel were heavily armored patrol soldiers. Mira held her breath. The enemy soldiers, encased in metallic armor, were slowly patrolling the narrow corridor of the tunnel. She turned to the Nebula scientists behind her and whispered, "Stay quiet. We must not attract their attention." In the dim light of the tunnel, they waited until the patrol passed by. Myra's heart was pounding, but she kept her composure and continued leading her team. Once the patrol had passed, they silently entered the ship. Mira knew they needed to reach the ship's core reactor to activate the device. But time was running out. The ship's security systems were active, monitoring their every move. They had to move quickly but cautiously, avoiding enemy soldiers as they navigated the ship. Above ground, the battle was growing more intense. The invaders were throwing everything they had to crush the human and Nebula resistance. Despite Caleb's strategic maneuvers, the invaders' superior technology posed a great challenge. Ships exploding in the sky rained down death on the soldiers below. As laser cannons fired one after another, the remnants of the Nebula city were further devastated. But Caleb was determined not to give up. With the advanced weapons at his disposal, he targeted the invaders' weak points, halting their advance. The invaders' massive war machines were destroyed by a rocket attack directed by Caleb. After the explosion, a cloud of dust engulfed the battlefield. Meanwhile, Mira had finally reached the core reactor of the ship. She quickly set up her equipment and activated the device. "We're going to do this," she whispered to herself, wiping the sweat from her brow. As the device powered up, a massive electrical outage struck the invader ship. All systems began to shut down, and their armor and weapons were rendered useless. The energy shields surrounding the main ship collapsed. Seeing the main ship weaken, Caleb rallied both the human soldiers and their Nebula allies for one final assault. "Now, finish the invaders," he shouted. The invaders, caught off guard by the sudden failure of their technology, were in complete disarray. The human soldiers advanced quickly, seizing control of the enemy's key positions. Meanwhile, the Nebulars regained control of their own technology and routed the invaders. At last, the invaders' main ship was completely disabled. It exploded in the depths of the atmosphere, vanishing into nothingness. The invaders, overwhelmed by the coordinated assault of the Human Nebula Alliance, were utterly defeated. The world of the Nebulars had been saved. The invaders had retreated, leaving behind only ruins and the triumph of the victors. Caleb and Mira returned as heroes who had brought peace back to the galaxy. Yet they knew that maintaining this peace would require constant vigilance. The alliance between Nebula technology and human military intelligence had laid the foundation for a new force that would protect the galaxy from future threats. This war had not only determined the fate of the galaxy, but also transformed the trust between the Nebulars and humans. Thanks to human intelligence and strategy, the Nebulars had been spared from extinction. Caleb and Mira had ushered in the beginning of a new era. The Nebulars were no longer alone. They had become one of the greatest powers in the galaxy. I hope you had a good time. If you liked my story, do not forget to comment and subscribe to my channel. Goodbye. See you in the next story.